please send Dave an invite or another one. Don't know why he doesn't have it. So we're going to go around. We're going to introduce ourselves as board members. We also are joined by Councilor Melanie Keebler. We always like to get an update if she has one for us. If you have questions, please raise your hand. We are sort of a free-form format. We do apologize about getting the agenda out this evening. We've been meeting independently, trying to figure out how to move forward since it's an election year and things like that. So at this point, if we could go around and introduce ourselves, we'll start with the board, and then there's only 3 or 4 private citizens as well. So Ross, why don't we hit you up first?
Yep. Hello, my name is Ross. I've been on the board, oh man, a year and a half now, I believe. I'm also recently been appointed the NLA rep for this neighborhood.
I'm Brian Kennedy, similar timing as Ross, and run the Bend Beautification Program for the NA. Karen, you're muted.
I'm the land use chair for the Old Farm District. Been the land use chair about 6 years now.
Jen Sawyer, Community Outreach and NART Representative.
Dave, say hi if you're ready.
It looked like he was having audio connection issues in the little ... thing.
Well, if that's the case, once Dave gets active, he will say hello, and that is the board. Councilor Keebler, if you'd mind saying hello to everybody, that'd be great.
Hi, everybody. Bend City Councilor Melanie Keebler.
And we are fortunate enough to have Jim Christo, who is on the Southeast Bend Neighborhood Association. We're trying to work together as a team on the southeast side of town. Can be challenging. Thank you for joining us, Jim. And then we have 3 other people. You're welcome to say hello if you want. Just turn off the microphone and say hello, and your first name's fine.
Hi, I'm Carla. Just live in the neighborhood, want to know what's going on.
I'm Martha, same story.
And
Hi,
Phil?
Yeah, I'm Phil Henderson. I live in Ryan Drive, been here a long time, and wanted to see what you're working on.
And just so everybody knows and is clear, we are all neighbors. It's just a question of how far. Pretty much we all live on the southeast side of town, including Melanie and Jim. So every issue affects us all.
I think I managed to unmute.
Dave, why don't you say hello?
Hello.
Dave is the vice chair.
No, yeah, thanks. I did. I just wanted to make sure you could hear me.
We can.
Yes, I'm Dave. I'm Dave, and I'm vice chair. And I'm on my phone right now because I've got the stuff that I get. That I need to have email. Anyway.
Gotcha. So for the future and for this, we do record and we put these on YouTube. We've been trying to create a log on our website. We did have problems every now and then in the past, but we do try to keep track of all of these meetings. That being said, normally we have updates from some of our committees. Ross is the NLA representative. Ross, if you wouldn't mind just telling everybody what that is and what your update isn't.
Thanks, James. Neighborhood Leadership Alliance is what NLA stands for, another 3-letter acronym, or TLA. Yeah, and we, oh man, I should have this memorized better, but essentially we are a committee that works very closely with the city council as well as with the mayor to try to be a conduit of communication from the different neighborhood associations directly to those councilors as well as the mayor, and try to just bridge that gap if there happens to be one, and help that communication go back and forth. And as far as last month in August, we actually did not meet. We took the month off, but we will be meeting again in September, actually meeting tomorrow. So I will have a better update for you all next month. Thank you.
Excellent. Karen, do you have any land use quick updates for us?
I could get philosophical, but okay, you went quick.
Well, if there's any actual updates,
Well, I mean, well, it's interesting. The city is proposing to amend the short-term rental code. They're going to change the density limit from 250 feet to 500 feet. And they're going to allow people to do a long-term rental without losing their short-term rental permit. I think for people who are concerned about short-term rentals, it'd be useful to go on the site, the online permit center, and read the comments. The city put out a survey to about 1,000 short-term rental owners. They got a good response, about 40%. And the comments are very interesting as to why people like the short-term rental. One of them, of course, is money, $5,000 a month as opposed to $1,500 a month. But many of them also cite the problem with Oregon's land use in terms of the tenant landlord laws. How difficult it is if you have a long-term tenant and they are trashing the place or not paying their rent, how difficult it is under Oregon law to get that person out. And it seems to be a major factor and why many of these people simply refuse to rent long-term as long as they can have a short-term rental permit. It's interesting observations, some of them.
Okay, are there any notifications, land use notifications that we've gotten in the last 30 days?
Yes, I got one yesterday and I haven't even opened the envelope. So we'll be publishing it. And of course, we have more short-term rentals. We've added 2 more to the neighborhood at the last month. Some people, they're all whole house rentals, which is to say, the owner does not live there and rent a room, it's whole house. I've been told that many of these people are simply doing it to lock down the ability to keep other people off the street with short-term rentals. They get a permit, they rent the place out 2 days a year, which I think is what satisfies it, and they have stopped their neighbors from becoming short-term rentals. Kind of a defensive strategy. That's what I hear.
Interesting thoughts.
Yeah.
Does anyone have questions for Karen? That would be no. Okay, so Councilor Keebler, since we've got your ear tonight, if you could fill us in on what the council's been up to, and people, if they have questions, wait until Councilor Keebler is done, and then be polite, and hopefully she'll answer them.
Yeah, thanks, James. So I just put in the chat, and I don't know if you can send it out to whatever, Facebook or whatever as well, but some links with some more information about the short-term rental changes and some kind of background on, this has been a process that started in March and we're now coming to the end of it. And there is some good information on our website about how we got here and what some of the background information was. So yeah, that's coming up in October, that's coming to us. We've also been moving through our camping code, and we're at the stage of the process now. Let me see if I can find the right links here, where we're going to be setting up. We've had a couple of open houses. We're having a work session at our next meeting to continue working on it. And then we're going to do these roundtables, which I'll put a link here to the presentation on the roundtables. It's pretty general, but it just shows you what the idea is as far as getting community groups into a discussion with council. We're not going to make any decisions. It's just to hear from people and have a discussion. One of them is going to be focused on the city advisory bodies. And you'll see that on the slides here. One of the slides here lists all our advisory committees, but leaves out the NLA. I think that's just a mistake because the second slide includes NLA, and NLA will be included in this roundtable with the advisory bodies. So that's where we're at with that process. That continues forward. And yeah, I think the only other big thing on the horizon is the climate friendly rules, which did pass this summer, and we're going to start seeing some implementation of those coming even later this year. We're getting a presentation in October from the staff about that and what's first, what's coming next, and what we're going to be seeing as far as what those rules tell us we have to do. So that will be in, I think, our second October meeting. So yeah, I think we're just continuing to do a lot of work at all of our meetings. I think I haven't seen you guys since the Safeway shooting. That was something I was very involved in, trying to respond, support our staff, get information out to people, and then continue to process that trauma as a community. So we talked about it a bit at our last council meeting, and just want to make a plug for you or for anyone you know who might still be struggling. There are resources, and Deschutes County Mental Health is happy to talk to and help anybody that needs it right now because of that. So I think that's a good general start on some of the things that are coming up for people to be aware of.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Councilor Keebler? I know I have one. Are these roundtables you're discussing, Melanie? Are they what the council has decided to sort of temporarily change the rules where all the council is going to be present but not creating a quorum, or
so
is that something
earlier,
different?
no, we're going to publicly notice them. They're going to be public meetings, and it's going to be a public discussion, and anyone can come and watch. Earlier this year, we changed our rules to allow for us to set these kind of special meetings if we'd like to on certain topics, and we called them a kind of a round table. This will be the first time we've used that new rule. So I think we'll see how it goes, and we can always think about ways to do it, better in the future, but we're going to try it out as a method to help us in policy making on a really tough question, have some specific time to hear from a bunch of different stakeholders, and then even discuss amongst ourselves if we want to, before we get to the point in a regular meeting where we make the actual decision.
Okay. Anyone else? Phil, I know you're politically minded. Do you have any questions? Just have to ask.
No, I have a question for you, Councilor
Yeah.
Brian Kennedy here. We were just going through some budgetary language in our work session part of the meeting, and I've been tracking expenses, reimbursable expenses for the past few years to try to just see where we have been historically investing our money, et cetera. And I was just curious in terms of the neighborhood association allocation, how it went from about 12.5 for our NA a couple of years ago down to 10, and now it's up to 10.5. I was just wondering if you could share what goes into the setting of that number.
And I believe it has to do with how many households you have in your NA, because I was just on a meeting with Old Bend, which is one of the smaller NAs, and they were talking about how they get a smaller allocation than like Old Farm or Mountain View because of the households. Because I think the idea originally was that a lot of that fund would be used communicating probably through mailers to your households. So I think that's why the discrepancy. I don't know about like the slight fluctuation from year to year. I mean, I can ask. I don't know exactly where that came from, but I think that there is disparity between the NAs just because of how many households are in each one. If that makes sense.
What caught my attention was 3 years ago, it was an unrounded number, and then last year it was 10 even, and now it's 10.5 even, which suggests that it's not wholly a formula, but some discretion is being perhaps used there. And
yeah, I can look into that. I don't know for sure exactly why that changed, but I can look into that for you.
Well, we appreciate it going up, but one of the things that we are going to try to do in this fiscal year is to try to be a good steward of the dollars and to make sure that we're prioritizing the use and a little bit more than just being reactionary to needs as they come up. So it's helpful to kind of know what the trajectory is for those dollars, whether we're, since we went down and we went back up a little bit, it would be helpful to understand that process a little more.
Can you send me an email just with those numbers that you cited and the years, and then I can run it up the chain and try to figure it out.
You bet.
Anything else? Melanie, thank you. please join us for the rest of the meeting.
I'll be here.
It'll be a short meeting. Jen, do you have any NART announcements? I know there's some campaign forums possibly in the works. Could you fill us in?
Yes, so we are working on helping with the candidate forums and getting some questions submitted to the candidates through NART, and we are still dialing all of that in. But as soon as I have that information, I'll be posting it on social media.
Jennifer is our social IT individual. Jen, could you tell everybody where you post and where you do not post?
Sure. Old Farm District Neighborhood Association has a Facebook page, and I will oftentimes post updates through there. I also post on Nextdoor through just as a personal human, and I will state if it is official Old Farm District Neighborhood Association business or if it's personal business. And that's
Thank
the only
you.
two places that I post as of right now. But somebody suggested I should go on Reddit, which I feel very indifferent about that, sir. James.
Melanie, can I just ask your personal opinion about Reddit as a communication tool?
I like Reddit because there is some moderation and some actual real people who sort of watch the comments and, get rid of stuff that shouldn't be there. That's either really, racist or offensive or irrelevant. But I mean, it's not for everyone. I don't know. I grew up on the internet a little bit, and message boards were kind of my thing. So it feels like more of a message board to me than like a Facebook post or whatever. But Jen, I think you do a lot. So I don't think you have to expand if you don't want to.
Thank you. I'll check it out. I like that there's a little bit of moderation, so it just weeds out the bots a little bit more. Yeah, that would be okay. I'll consider it.
All righty. So the board does meet at least one other major meeting a month privately, just so we can sort of see what's going on and figure out how we're going to do things. This is our public meeting that we do every month. One of the tasks that is required by our bylaws and the city staff reminds us of every year is that we have to have general meetings, and we also have to follow our bylaws and have things like general elections. Due to COVID, the last couple of years have been frustrating, and we are now deciding to address and move forward from all of that. We used the Alpenglow Park opening event combined with Southeast Bend to sort of use that as a major communications tool. That worked out very well. But moving forward, we've decided our next general meeting is going to be in March. And due to the fact that November is an election month for the real candidates in the world, and December is usually taken off, and then whatever the new city council gets elected in, they figure out their goals in January. The Old Farm District Board has decided to do a hard reset, and we are going to market this hard reset for the next few months on social media and the newsletters and the website. And essentially, every single board member's seat is going to be up for election. And this is trying to get us back to where we were before the state and federal and city and county emergency declarations that have been put into place. What we're going to do is we're going to alternate the seats based on years. Some of them are going to be for the full term, and then the other ones are going to be for the partial term. But after that meeting, the Neighborhood Association, which has been active now for 20 years, should be back on track and following everything the way we're supposed to be doing, and hopefully maybe get some new blood or definitely some new volunteers. Jen is going to be actively promoting this on social media. If any people that are listening are civic minded, would like to volunteer, have concerns about the city or the county, and would like to be a part of this board, like I said, we have been active for 20 years. We're nonpartisan. There is all different political leans, even on this current board. And you can see from Melanie shaking or nodding her head in agreement. It is true. We are functional. And if any of the other boards that took place in the conversation that I just described would like to add anything to this for the video, please chime in now.
I missed the button. Sorry about that. Yeah, I just want to add that we're thinking, it may be correctly, that the new council will have some new direction, and that new direction will no doubt involve the neighborhoods at some level. And when we have that direction and the opportunities that lie therein within the various NAs, that we think that'll be a very useful thing to present to neighbors as a way to perhaps, link up with something that they're, feel strongly about, and perhaps join the board or step up as a volunteer to help with the role that we play within the greater organization. So that probably would be on the heels of the council goals and priorities. And we felt that timing made sense for March. And hopefully we would also be past the worst of any surge in COVID through the cold and flu season. So try to keep everybody safe at the same time. So time and place to be determined.
And Jim, since you are with the Southeast Neighborhood Association, this is just something that we've sort of tried to figure out what to do. I know you guys have a couple new members that are active, so you're in sort of a better situation than we are.
Yeah, Jim, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
There
Now
it
we
is.
got you.
Okay, it's odd. The switch is you push to mute, not push to talk. And I'm not used to that. So anyways, like I said, we got 2 new women on our board. They're going to be redoing our website and social media and attending NART. I also want to mention that we're having our annual meeting next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, over at Jewel Elementary School. And like you, all board positions will be up for election, because I think it's been so long since we've had one. We've got to get back in tune with our bylaws, and then we'll be asking for volunteers as well. And we've just got our speakers all lined up for the meeting, and we'll have to see how it goes. This will be my first annual meeting, so we're kind of feeling our way through it, and we'll see what happens. But I just wanted to mention that. Thanks.
And what time does that start?
Setup is at 5 o'clock. The meeting starts at 5:30. It looks like there's going to be about a half hour just milling around. Then we're going to start the business meeting, have elections. Then for about the last 75 minutes until 7:30, we're going to have the speakers. So we just met this morning and discovered, kind of put the list together of what speakers are, what times and all that. And that'll be going out to all the members later this week. This update to the notice that we put out a week ago.
Can you have your social media lady reach out to me and send me that information as well? And I'll help push stuff through Nextdoor. Help
Sure.
promote it. All right,
Sure,
cool.
will do. I'll have her get in contact with you.
Thanks.
All right,
And
thanks,
then,
Jim.
and then along those lines, for NLA purposes, we're looking at I'm looking at sending out some surveys to get some input from the community on like wildfire risk planning, camping, of course. I think that's on everybody's mind right now, as well as street safety and some additional outreach. So I want to make sure that we get kind of coordinated on that, but we can talk more about that, I think, tomorrow.
Excellent. Jim, I know I'll be at the meeting. I want to see how you guys are doing, and I've got a few things to add anyway. So I have nothing else to add to this meeting. I know the agenda was going to be Brian.
Yeah, I didn't want to have this meeting without, again, providing a shout out to all the volunteers who have continued to help with the Bend beautification program. We had a very successful cleanup last time. We braved 27th Street and hauled a major haul of trash, which stood as a proud yellow monument there on the side of the road for an extended period of time for all to see, before the city finally grabbed it. But the folks who've come out have just done a spectacular job. And we went out a little earlier because of the heat. And I'm sort of holding the next date because of the current smoke conditions and whatnot. So we get a better handle on what that looks like. We will hopefully we'll have one in September and then one more in October before we wrap it up with the season, but we'll see how the smoke plays out. And then we'll get that posted in all the usual places. But outstanding work, everybody. Appreciate your help. And we have done a lot to remove debris and garbage from the southeast part of town. So thank you.
Thank you.
That is great to hear, Brian. On that note, so people do send the neighborhood association requests asking for assistance with the city and things. Recently, we got a request about not picking up the streets, but doing landscaping or essentially noxious weed removal along one of the major roads. I do want to just everybody to know, since this is a recorded meeting and it's going to be public, we do ask for volunteers. We are all volunteers. And so the Bend Beautification Project, which Brian is sort of spearheading for us, they meet what, monthly, Brian?
We have picked up either on Thursday or Saturday every month since April.
And that is just trash removal and debris removal. We do not have any active weeding on the city streets as of currently. And honestly, I don't want to do that. I'd rather just let city staff know about it and let them coordinate that. That requires even more work than picking up debris. But I know Jen has some possible plans in the future of pollinator projects and things like that. So once again, we're just a citizens group, and we're always looking for different ways to help make our neighborhoods and our neighbors better, people and ourselves. Does anyone else on the board have something to say?
I do want to toss out one thought maybe for Melanie and you, James, at the same time. I was just looking for an update on the speed signs program. I don't know whether we've submitted a formal request for where we might, I mean, living off of Ferguson or 15th, those are just some, I mean, I've seen cars going down Ferguson at 60, 70 miles an hour. And I'm very concerned about the foot traffic and bicycle traffic for kids who are headed to Caldera, because people just go so fast down 15th. And since there are some elevation changes just north of the canal, they come ripping over that hill, and then they've got a roundabout right in front of them, and they can't or there will be a roundabout ahead of them. They can't slow down in time, and that's we've got that really clunky Ferguson interchange there. So definitely have some good spots where you could put them. I just don't know where the program for the coming year sits at the moment.
Yeah, I know I have a vote for it to be on 15th somewhere. I almost got hit there just last week, walking my dog with my wife at the crosswalk right by the canal. It's and somebody was doing at least 50, and I had literally one foot on, off the curb, and had to take a step back. It's excessive.
That's a comment I would mirror, Melanie. I don't know if there's anything the city can do it, but we in the protected crosswalks, we have the Oregon law signs, and I have a son who's traversing this town to get to high school on bike every morning, and I fear every single day because we have so many transplants here that don't know Oregon law. And to Ross's point, I'm assuming the exact same crosswalk he's talking about, adjacent to the canal, have encountered so many speeding drivers that with wife and dog and child in hand, they don't even stop. And I've actually had somebody flip me off because I dared to step into the crosswalk there. So maybe there's something the city can do about just kind of bringing back what Ben was about, when everybody used to stop for bikes and pedestrians, and we didn't have to throw up a bunch of visual garbage just to get people to be remotely sensitive to the needs of people on bikes and on foot.
Yeah,
Street
I mean,
moderators.
Well, I mean, you can have some enforcement where you come out and just have people standing at the crosswalk and you start giving out tickets, and for people that live in the neighborhood and don't stop, that can be effective. But yeah, 15th is a problem because it's this big straight road, right? And I think there will be eventually some improvements to that Ferguson intersection. I have to double check, but I think it might be actually slated to be a roundabout there, which will slow people down, right? Eventually. But yeah, right now, I think yeah, I don't know what the timeline is for the radar sign, but I think that that street would be a good one for sure, because I have the same
Well-
experience at that canal crossing.
And Ferguson is marked at 40, which is of course
Yeah.
absurd. And I know that's a state deal, and I'm not quite sure who I need to speak to at the city in order to get that sponsored at the state level so they could bring that down to an appropriate speed.
Yeah, let me find out who that is, because I got another email, and I don't know if it was someone on here or another one of your neighbors about speed on Ferguson.
So
I totally
for the
agree.
audience to know, we recently did a poll that we sent out to everybody, that we have emails to, asking where they would like one of these speed signs to be temporarily placed. And I do believe we have submitted that to Michaela, Melanie.
Okay,
So
that's
we
in the
are doing
works.
we're doing our part to find out where people want them.
Great. All right, I got 2 homeworks from Brian. Got it.
Do you see the chat in regards to the noise from the Hayden concerts? And sorry, did you see the message from Jim? Did that just get answered?
The radar set, we talked about that, but not the other one, I think.
I will let the counselor respond to the Hayden concerts. I just because she can.
Well, so anytime anybody reaches out to us with, complaints, which please feel free to do that, we forward them to the old mill. They are in charge of complying with the noise complaints. Just so people know, the noise can go until 10. And I don't usually hear complaints about, oh, it was late or it was after 10. Usually it's, I can hear it from my house, which I can hear it from my house occasionally too. Some of it has a lot to do weirdly with which way the wind is blowing on a certain day, which is strange. But yeah, we've definitely had not just this neighborhood, but other neighborhoods, talk about, just because we have so many of the concerts now. So it's a lot more frequent occurrence, and people notice it more. So I'm happy to always pass on information to the old mill without somebody recording a decibel, right? That's above the whatever it's supposed to be, or without recording something happening after 10 o'clock, which I will say, I think the Dixie Chicks went long because they had to stop because of lightning or something at the beginning. So I think they maybe went 15 minutes over or something, but everyone else I think has stopped at 10. But yeah, it's not, I think it's been 3 or 4 times that I could hear them from my house occasionally. Yeah.
I was at a concert, they actually pulled the plug at 10 mid-song.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they let the Dixie Chicks go after.
Yeah, I know, that was unusual because usually they are very much like, we're done.
Yeah.
Anything else? Public comments now accepted? I am not seeing anybody in the audience. Jen or Karen or Dave, do you have anything else to add?
No,
Well, if that
Nope.
is the case, Dave, no?
No, I have nothing.
Then should we call this meeting to adjournment?
Yes.
Do we
Yes.
get a yay from the board?
Yeah.
Yay.
please.
All righty.
And go home.
So can you stop recording, Ross? I'll stay on for a few minutes. If anybody has questions that